if you have some ideas on the way you want money spent, a trust is probably appropriate if your kids have much different ideas of your money. Now you could say, oh, it's okay, the kids will be adults, they could do this. I kind of don't go with that. I want food on the table, gas in the car, a little money for Saturday night for your kids, even if they do stupid things. That's kind of my vision. If they're perfectly fine, great. I don't want to do an unnecessary trust. But if you have some ideas, now by the way, I'm not talking about little differences. Most of my clients' kids have nicer kitchens than my clients, and bigger houses, and bigger mortgages, and a lot less money. All right, that's a difference in value. I don't know if I would tie up a kid just for that, but if they're the kids who can't hold on to a job and can't hold on to money and do something silly, then I'm really more in favor of these trusts. Now we get to the issue of trust for adult beneficiaries. All right. I want to protect the kid from themselves. For young kids, always. For older kids, there are a lot of kids with a lot of problems that in my opinion, should not get your money outright. Creditors. If your kid is a doctor, he has some potential creditors. If your kid gets married, he has a very big potential creditor. Your future ex-daughter or son-in-law. And I will tell you, that happens. All right, I'm a big favor of prenuptial agreements for your kids that if they say nothing else, it says any money that mom and dad gives me or leaves me goes into a separate pot. And if we ever get divorced, you don't get a nickel of that pot. And I get to leave that pot to whomever I like. And very frankly, I have a prenuptial agreement. I married a woman with some means, and I knew that her dad was giving her money and was going to leave her a lot more when he dies. And I knew he didn't want me to get a nickel, so we have a prenuptial. So basically, that money, anything that he's given her that we haven't spent, that's in a separate pot. And if we ever get divorced, I don't get a nickel of that pot. And that pot at her death will go to our daughter. And that's fine with me. And by the way, it turned out that, I married her when I was very young in my business, and she had this, reasonable portfolio. Now my business is worth a lot more than her portfolio, so I ended up the winner in that deal. But by the way, we're fine. We just celebrated 20 years. But anyway, I am a big believer in prenuptial agreements for your children to protect your inheritance. A great way to start a family fight, too. Okay, what are some of the problems? It does add to the complications. If the underlying asset's an IRA or TI-CREF, you have to do it right. There is an extra tax return. You're not treating the kids the same. Let's say one kid's a spendthrift, one isn't. People say, oh, I'm not treating them the same. I say, you're leaving them the same amount of money, but one gets it outright, one gets it a trust. Now let me tell you the biggest problem in reality of trust for adult beneficiaries. Who's the trustee going to be? I'll tell you right now, there is no good answer. So you have to choose between bad answers. And here's usually the choices. It's the bank or it's the sibling. All right? So you have two kids, one's fine, one's a spendthrift, and you don't want to leave the spendthrift money outright. Who do you name as the trustee? Yeah, you can go name Mellon Bank, but you have all the problems that I talked about before. Or you name the sibling. What's wrong with the sibling? Very bad for relations. The spendthrift says, hey, guess what? Good news, trustee. I just got a job across town, but I need a car to get there. That seems like an ordinary and necessary expense for the trust. Can I have some money for a car? And brother trustee says, okay, that seems reasonable. And the beneficiary says, well, I was just looking at these Ferraris, and for $75,000, no, I was thinking maybe a used Toyota. So you get these kinds of complaints. Oh, by the way, Christmas is at my house this year. These are very real problems. Is there a solution better that I can come up with? I've gone through this discussion 100 times, probably more, And I'm going to say 98 out of 100 times we end up with the sibling.